Welcome back to Salty Runback, here to be your weekly intake of North American Developmental League of Legends, and we have done it. It is officially semi-pro offseason as the promotion tournament has concluded. Congratulations to our two new teams in the NACL, CCG Esports, and Blue Otter. Kind of out of nowhere. They were last place in our power rankings on the last episode of Tier 3 tonight. Made it all the way back up with the spot at promotion. Very happy for those guys. We're going to be talking about all of that, as well as the CLOL Regional Conference Finals that are happening throughout this weekend. This episode will be coming out Saturday morning. There will be a ton of finals happening on Saturday, all that have big implications for that top 32 bracket, which will be unveiled. I'm Grapes. I'm joined alongside Hawk. Hawk, we just finished promotion, but the action just doesn't stop here on Salty Runback.
My friend, it does not, because it is officially CLOL season. It is conference finals weekend. We've got the CLOL championship starting in like 2 weeks from now, 2.5 weeks from now. I think it's 2 weeks from when this episode releases is when the first day of the college championship will be, which is craziness.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it is coming up fast. So it's CLOL season, but it is for everybody else the off season. It was a long split. We made it here, and Grapes, maybe worth noting as well that with the off season, of course, comes a lot of combines.
Yeah, there's actually one happening as we speak right now, the Supernova one.
I hear Josh co-streaming it in the other room.
Next week as well. Oh, really?
Yeah. Tune into
That's
Josh's stream, Joshi TV, if you are cool. Yeah, for the Supernova combine.
Hey, speaking of combines, I mean, that's where Samikin was first kind of heavily discovered. We had that content piece going out throughout the weekend. Yeah, so if you want to see some good League of Legends, some stars of the future, there definitely are some. We're going to talk about that a little bit later here in the episode. But let's start off here, Hawk, with our headlines and the NACL promotion tournament, as you know, that is the biggest thing that has happened over the last couple of weeks here. Of course, we have our two new teams promoting in. We say goodbye, unfortunately, to Lit and Mirage Alliance, so as they will not be in the NACL next season. But a lot of things happen in between that. And so, Hawk, I guess my question to you is, like, what was the best storyline from this promotion tournament as a whole?
I mean, Grapes, without a doubt, it has to be Samikin, does it not? Like,
yeah,
look, man,
it does.
My Twitter became a Samikin fan account for like 3 days because this guy on a team filled with veterans, 3 of whom have played in the Challengers League, and like in a tournament filled with veterans and a wealth of Challengers League experience. Somehow, I think the MVP of potentially the entire tournament, maybe Instinct has an argument to be made here as well, was Samikin playing his champs, playing his game, laning actually very well, better than he had, I think, in the entire qualifier circuit, and of course being a team fight fucking god and blowing everyone out of the water. I mean, it was unbelievable. I like, this player has chose the right time to completely boom with their play. It was unreal.
Yeah, the reason I think that we rated Blue Otter so low at the start coming into this promotion tournament is that they didn't feel like they had an identity, and it felt like they were kind of just sitting around waiting to lose a lot of the time. Their play looked like they were on the downturn coming into the promotion tournament. Funnily enough, though, it seems like every single team over the last 2 years or last 2 splits that were in that situation before, like, had that downward momentum, nobody was believing them, ended up promoting both times. It was, Lit and Supernova in those last 2 splits. They both ended up making it in. And so something must have happened in that change, and Samikin definitely part of it. It seemed like the team knew what they wanted to do so much more this week of games. Their series against Winthrop was such a different look from them than what we saw, in the games that they played against, Ole Miss in the semifinals that they got knocked out in. And then even going into the into the finals against Lit. Like, I think a lot of people thought that could have been a close series, thought Lit could have been favored because of how well they were playing actually on their own in the promotion tournament, but they ended up, coming through. And Samikin being unapologetic in the champions he was picking, would first pick Lux. He first picked Lux like a bunch of times, actually. And I think that's a very cool thing for somebody that still has a lot of his story to grow throughout his career.
Zoe was permabanned as well. Like, he played all kinds of cool stuff. I also do, while we're on this topic of glazing Blue Otter, deservedly, I want to give a shout out to Lawrence, who I think played the best week of League that I've seen from him in a while as well. He played very, very well throughout the week, and I think went from being I don't want to say a weakness because Lawrence has generally been pretty solid, but I guess I would say maybe not a win condition to actually like
Yeah.
a genuinely very impactful top laner. So shout out to Lawrence, who
Yeah, those Rumble
stay tuned for
games.
part 2. Yeah, the Rumble games were
The
crazy.
solo kills, the Denethor solo kills a couple times. Very, very cool.
Yep.
I guess the other obvious storyline is just the other team that promoted in CCG. Like they dropped a game, they dropped a couple of games, which shout out to Lid and shout out to Ole Miss for both taking games. That Ole Miss game, that first game, oh my god,
Dude,
what a wild ride. Ole Miss throughout the entire tournament just had
what a
the
what a
craziest,
banger,
saddest
dude.
games of all time, unfortunately, which is kind of
Oh,
the story of
I
how that team operated throughout a large part of the
I
end of
feel
that year.
so
But
bad for that team. I feel so
yeah,
bad. That's
hey,
my least favorite
let's just
storyline is what happened to Ole Miss, I think. Like it
yeah.
not actually, but it was just a
The good
tragic
thing
ending.
before we talk about CCG again, the good thing about Ole Miss is that they've been very clear that the point of playing in qualifiers was to just get good practice before CLOL, and I think they definitely did that. The team looks way better now than they did at the start of the year, and so if the
Yep.
main end goal is CLOL, like I think this was a successful NACL queue for them. But CCG, yeah, like they looked pretty good. It was Instinct who I think went a little bit underappreciated by us in the qualifiers because the rest of his team was just carrying, so he didn't have to do anything. And he looked very, very good in the games that CCG ended up playing, and of course Bradley doing his thing as well. So who knows if this group is going to stay together? My guess would be no, because there's going to be some other teams that will want to pick up Yukino or Bradley. Or Instinct, or Crimson, or Trevor, even. Like, some of these guys will be gone because that is how stacked this roster was coming out of the qualifiers. And so
Yeah.
it's kind of sad that we're not going to be able to see this group again from CCG. More likely than not, they've all been public about how they're going to explore their offers and figure out what's best for them. But was a very cool story, especially for Bradley, about all these and all those guys coming back in.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's I mean CCG, like this was a team that was built to win, and they went and they did just that, and it was exciting to watch them. I just personally like enjoy watching a lot of the players on that side. I mean, Bradley Crimson did a bunch of content with us and stuff like that, right? So yeah, I agree. I think all 5 of those players as well, the main takeaway is that they're all deserving of playing in challengers, and whether it's together or separate, I think that they all proved that.
Do you,
Specifically the young
do you think?
Crimson, making it happen.
Yeah. Do you think all 5 of them are? You think all 5 of them are in the league next year? Like, I think
If
it's
there's
pretty. I
if
think
they're
it's
not, I
pretty
think there's
guaranteed.
something wrong. I mean, Crimson is like the only one I could see being back in tier 3, but I don't think it happens. I mean, like
No, nothing either.
maybe Trevor as well, I guess, but I think Trevor actually had a very good split for as much as uh his history in the Challengers
Yeah,
League is
he gets
suspect.
flamed.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a rough last promotion tournament,
No, but he
to
had
say
a
the
like
least.
genuinely he had a great split. I think
Yeah,
especially tournament 2 into promotion, Trevor was maybe outside of Rhino the best support that we had in tier 3. So he didn't make all tier 3, I think because I thought his tournament 1 was a little shaky, but yeah, the back half of the split was fantastic for him.
hey, those old hands still got it, man. It's kind of crazy. I think Trevor's like 10 years older than Crimson or something like that. We'll have to do some research
That's
on that.
funny.
But
Wouldn't surprise me.
um,
Wouldn't surprise
yeah.
me. I mean, dude, I interviewed freaking Pocus and Sushi 27 and 17. Yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations, CCG and Blue Otter. We'll be talking about Blue Otter a little bit later in our part 2, and Hawks going to be sitting down with Lawrence and Rovex after their win. So make sure to stay tuned for that. But we can head on to our next headline, which unfortunately is about some of the teams that did not make it into the promotion tournament or make it into the NACL. There are 4 teams, of course, our 2 NACL teams that were towards the bottom, Lit and Mirage. It's tough to be a team that lost a lot of games and go into that tournament. The momentum's just not in your favor. And Winthrop and Ole Miss also not making it. So our collegiate representatives also failing to qualify, unfortunately. But still a lot of talent out of those rosters. Hawk, who are some of these players that you think personally deserve some spots in the NACL?
Yeah, and I made a tweet about this. I'm just gonna basically quote that tweet, which is I think it's Denethor, it's Rock Boom, it's Cryro, who wasn't even in this tournament, and it's Shogo. I think those are the really 4 obvious answers. Just for how high of a level they've been playing at for a good bit now. And I think in particular for Denethor, he didn't play in NACL this split, I think, because of he wanted to run it with Winthrop. And I think it's actually a huge question for me is like what happens to this Winthrop roster come summer. Obviously they're gonna play CLOL together, but then we'll have to see what happens in the summer split, whether or not they're running it together or not. Um, but yeah, I think these players are like the very, very obvious answers. There's some other players that have an argument for sure, but they are the cream of the crop in my opinion.
Yeah, hearts out to Winthrop again. Like I know like how hard that those guys work and how badly they wanted to be in the league and be in NACL, and something just didn't click at the end of the split. It seemed like they were the same team from qualifier 1 to now, and I think some of the other teams might have taken some other steps up, including CCG kind of just joining. So I think all those factors combined, unfortunately, kind of just resulted in Winthrop not being in the best spot. I talked to
Yeah.
Summer on her co-stream a little bit, and she said that like they're having some trouble adjusting to meta and figuring out like what the best picks are all the time. But I think a lot of those players, I would not be sad to see any of those players
I
honestly back in
agree. I think
NACL.
all
I just
five of
don't
those
think it would be
players
as a group of 5.
Yeah, I think all five of those players, if they were on a Challengers League team as like a developmental piece, then I'd be like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Mobility as well, like specifically. Like I think he played very well in some of those games. Had a couple of rough ones as well, which everyone's going to have.
Yeah.
But it is also somebody that
Well,
that I think a lot of people still think very highly of.
mobility's been an interesting one to me. I still think highly of mobility, and I think mobility has a bright future ahead of him. He had a bit of an up and down split though. And I am gonna choose to believe that this is like indicative of like I think mobility right now is at a point where he recognizes that he needs to take like the next step, right? And I don't think he's just been able to do that yet, but I think the up and down split comes from the attempt to take the next step. So that's like the positive outlook I'm gonna have for him. And I think whether he's in NACL next split or in tier 3, like if he can take that next step, he will very obviously be a Challengers League tier player
Yep.
in the future. So yeah.
Um, So in terms of other players, I think you hit the nail on the head with like those guys. Kyra playing in that Supernova Combine, so you should go check that out this weekend if you are looking for some more
Same
League
with
of Legends to watch.
Yusin, by the way. So
Dude, Houston and Seoul too. Like remember your Salt
uh
Street bet at the start of the year, which was use one of the Morningstar players will be in LCS. Like, hey, maybe it's possible now.
bro,
Like those guys are playing in combines, and Seoul's never lost eligibility, so he's able to be in a
yeah.
team. I think he could definitely be in challengers as well.
Oh, Soul Never
But in terms of
Dies. Yeah. Fucking
yeah.
crazy, man.
But in terms of people that were in this promotion tournament, another person I want to shout out is probably Kizno and Dragoon over on Lit.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Even
a
though
good
even though
shout.
Lit didn't have the best split, I think that like Dragoon played very solidly in lane throughout the entirety of the split, and I think Kizno showed a lot of growth,
Yeah.
especially off of some of his like carries that we know he's already good at. So those are definitely some people I have my eyes on. Obviously, not all the spots are going to be filled in by those guys, and we'll see a lot of good teams in tier 3 once again, but if history kind of goes to show, maybe being in tier 3 is better than being on a worse tier 2 team. Who knows? On that note, let's move on to our next headline, which is unfortunately talking about Lit Esports a little bit because we've got a chance to talk and bond with a lot of these players, and it looks like after the magical run that they had back in summer, this team probably isn't going to be staying together again. If you haven't watched the clip of messages on Sajed's stream after, you should go check it out. It was very heart-spoken words, but it doesn't look like he is going to be playing anymore or playing at least for this next split, which it really sucks because he's somebody who, big friend of the show. We should have him on sometime to
Yeah, we
talk
should have
about
him back.
everything a little bit.
Shout out messages if you're
Um,
listening.
yeah, and Dragoon posted an LFT tweet. So it looks like Lit gonna look a little bit different, or maybe not have that same roster back. So it's just a chance to reflect on one of our fan favorite teams here as members of Salty Runback.
Yeah, and just to be clear, we have no idea what's going to happen to the organization as a whole. We have no idea what's going to happen to all the players. So don't panic. Like I think Lit has actually been a pretty fun org. I hope to see them playing in tier 3 and run it back with some sort of team next year. Try to stay at the
Yep.
top. So that's not what this eulogy is about. It's just about this roster in particular. And yeah, it is a bummer. I think it's time, right? They had their run through promotion. They had their split in NACL. I'm hoping players like Kizno in particular, Rockboom, hopefully we're able to like grow a lot from this. Messages, by the way, had a great promotion tournament. Again, shout out
Yeah,
to
he was
Chris.
awesome.
Yeah, he had a great promotion tournament. And so, I think it's time for this roster to move on and for these players to find other teams or what have you. At the end of the split before promotion, I had heard and I like not I don't want to announce anyone's stuff, but I had heard that certain players and staff are going to be doing different things at the end, going into summer, whether it's playing in league or not. Messages was one of the ones that I had heard. I'm hoping to see like a lot of these players back though, because I do think there is a lot of talent on this team. I've said this in the past. I think like everyone on this team, if they were on an NACL team as a developmental piece, I would love it. I think they all could hack it at that level. And if not, they should definitely be in the contention for top of tier 3. I mean, I know people like Dragoon have been there for a while. So, yeah, like this is a team with a lot of great players, a lot of great personalities. So I'm hoping to see, as many of them back. And for anyone that's not, I wish them the absolute best, because it's always hard to see them go. Like, I know, again, we talked to Chris on the show about like his journey through playing competitive. And it's not always easy, right? So like, best of luck to the players with whatever they do.
Yeah, it always really sucks to see these situations that I know come down to the fact that the league ecosystem is so different than it was just a year ago. There were 16 NACL teams, 10 of which were paying full-time LA salaries
Yeah.
in the spring of 2023. Now nobody's doing that. Now
Yeah.
like the top paying teams in 2024 spring are probably paying a very similar amount to like some of the lower paying teams in 2023 spring. Um
Yeah.
and that creates situations where people can't stick around forever, and it always is sad. But I'm going to be eternally grateful for Lit for giving these players that promoted into the NACL
Yeah.
a chance to play in the
Lit
NACL.
did it right. You know, Lit promoted in. They ran it back with the roster. They had a ton of fucking fun while they did it, at least outwardly, and then they
Yeah,
lost, and
and
it
even
happens,
though
right? But
and
yeah.
even though it didn't end up the right way, like they got super close, and at the end of the day, if CCG's roster just didn't exist, I think they'd be the heavy favorites to be that second team in after Blue Water, just because they were in the upper bracket finals. They played a pretty close series against Blue Water. They took a game off of CCG. Like these players still have a ton of potential, like as a group or individually, and we might not see all of them in the future, but I hope we still see
Yeah.
at least some of them.
Yeah. I agree. I think Lit did it right, and I think that
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what these
Eh,
players do next, whatever it may be, because I truly like a lot of good people involved with this team. Just
yeah,
just
and
like
looking ahead as well.
yeah.
Like, I think a team like Blue Water should try and take that same example. Obviously, we mentioned CCG probably gonna have some other external offers for like
But
other
that's on
other
the
players
player's
for
own
sure.
volition, right? Like that's
Exactly,
different to
exactly.
me.
Like,
So
so if a team like Blue Water, like, I would hope, I know that like those guys are have been involved in amateur for so long, and have had all these pieces. I hope that if the players want to run the roster back, like they will be given that opportunity,
I agree.
and we'll see what happens after that. But you know, that is hopefully the precedent that Lit set for these teams coming in, because it obviously was not the case going from spring to summer in 2023. And yeah, in 2024, hopefully that
Yeah.
becomes more of a thing.
For the
Um,
teams, do right by the people that made you who you are, and for everybody else, support the players, because yeah, as Grapes alluded to, everyone needs it, and they deserve it as well.
yep. All right, let's move into our next headline. We're gonna start talking about CLOL a little bit, Hawk, as that kind of is a wrap on our NACL season. I think at some point next week or in the near future, I actually did remember this. We have to count all of our fantasy points and Salt Street bets, and
Oh
then make that
God.
like
Oh
part of the
no.
thing. Maybe we can do that next week, 'cause I know next week's a bit of a slower
Next
news
week's a
week.
good time to do
So
that for sure. Yeah.
so yeah, well, so I actually have no idea how any of us did, but like it'll be fun to see. So make sure to stay tuned to that next week. But talking about CLOL, as this is now going to be the main topic of conversation, at least for the next month or so, as it's the only NA League of Legends that is going to be happening throughout May and so on. Um, there was a couple of conference championships and games that happened today as we record, or yesterday as you're watching this. Winthrop has earned their spot in the semifinals and locked themselves a spot in the college championships officially with 3-1 win over Fisher. And UST had us sweating a little bit, but ended up reverse sweeping UT Dallas without Array,
They
with Nova
tried.
holding
Yeah.
down the fort in the bottom lane. They won the West. I think that was expected, although maybe not in the way that we had expected. But there are a lot of other conference championship games happening today, Saturday, as you watch this. In the North Conference, it'll be Maryville versus SLU. In the NACC, it'll be Winthrop versus Ole Miss again, which is really funny. In Western Conference, it'll be UCSD versus Weber State, which is not what anybody expected after UCI and USC both ended up dropping their series.
I got a note. Apparently, it's pronounced Weber.
Weber State.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know. I did not expect that either. I was told this
So
last night
Weber State
by Sean Atonin.
versus
Shout out Sean.
UCSD.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then in the East, it's going to be St. Clair versus Western. So out of all of those games, Hawk, let's we'll touch on all of them. But for you, which one of these is the most important in terms of implications for the collegiate championships as a whole?
Yeah, and I'm gonna get the elephant in the room out of the way because if you want the most exciting championship, North and NECC are probably going to be fucking crazy. I mean, these are NACL qualifier tier teams that are going to be duking it out. NECC finals in particular, like, dude, Winthrop versus Ole Miss right now, I think, is the biggest rivalry in collegiate esports. I think, honestly, it might even be bigger than Maryville against Winthrop at this point, just because of how much these teams have played each other.
How many times they've played
in recent memory. Like it's the kind of thing where, like, Peyton Manning and the Colts and the Patriots with Tom Brady were huge rivals in, like, the 2000s, right? But, like, the Patriots' biggest rival is always going to be, like, the people in their division or whatever. Like, because and that's the same thing, like, Raven Steelers, like, that's what Winthrop against Ole Miss is. It is bad blood in this matchup. They may not have the history, but they have been grinding each other to a pulp. So yeah.
This is round 4.
Crazy. Yeah. God, it's crazy. So yeah, if you want, like, a crazy matchup, go watch those two. But for most important with, like, the biggest implications, I honestly don't think these matter because my projection would be, and if you were to ask me, these are the top 4, and they're the 1 seeds is Maryville, SLU, Ole Miss, and Winthrop, and I don't think it matters who beats who. Like, I have them as the top 4. So as far as implications, that leaves West and East. I actually think both are fairly important, but for me, I'm gonna bat for East here because I think St. Clair, and honestly the entirety of East in general, the jury's still out on them. Consensus, I would think right now, at least my thoughts are that St. Clair is probably a top 8 team at the moment. But we don't know that for sure. They've not played a ton of really strong opponents because, again, I think East is very wide but not very tall. And then Western just had a massive upset sweep over Harrisburg. So, like, the question, I think, is going to be what form are both these teams in? And I think it's going to inform a lot about the strength of East as a whole, and then also these two teams heading into seeding.
Yeah, I think you mentioned, like, the wide versus tall. In my head, St. Clair is above that by a little bit just because of how well they performed so far.
But that's the assumption we're making, right?
Exactly. They have, I think, really good bot lane play. Of course, Rock Boom, who we talked about, is down there. And then, like, they have Buschetti and Miracle kind of swapping back and forth, which makes things pretty interesting. Bakery Boy's honestly been playing pretty well in the mid lane as well. I know he's not Akashi, but also, still playing well.
Bad.
And then
He's
Ricky and Maddie, of course. Yeah. Also putting up some good performances. So I'm pretty high on St. Clair, but I'm also high on Western, which is why I'm also super excited for this matchup. Like, I think people forget that Krakadon is on this team and that Lynx is now playing AD carry instead of playing support last year.
Apparently playing AD carry for Lynx is, like, way better,
Yeah. Yeah. They destroy. Well, they didn't. They swept you. He was actually ahead in a lot of those early games, which is definitely Zoo's strongest point. The early game historically on all the teams that Zoo has been on, that is what they do best, and they sometimes struggle closing things out. And I think playing against a NACL caliber marksman like Lynx really, like, made it difficult for them to win some of those team fights where they, Western just outpositioned and outmaneuvered them in the macro sense in the late game. So suddenly, like, Lynx versus Rockboom again in the promotion tournament. It was a matchup in the promotion tournament. It's a matchup again here in East Finals. That is a super exciting one, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really good one. I think, like, no one really had their eyes on Western, if I'm being honest, until they swept Hugh. And Hugh.
Well, yeah. The thing is, I want to go back to the people on the CLOL rankings committee because I was definitely part of this. Western did not stream any of their games or, like, announce their roster ever. So we had no idea, like, who was playing for them. I still like. I think I like. We now know that who's playing for them. Obviously, it's Calculus, Crackodon, Mira, Lynx, and who's playing support for them? I don't even remember. But regardless, like this is like a newer. Oh, Loyal's now playing support for them. Yeah. So like we did not have any tape, and so that's why it was tough to
Oh yeah,
judge.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
But
that's my point.
now,
Yeah.
yeah, now we definitely are aware of them
Right,
playing
that's my
well.
point. It's like whether people thought they were bad or just didn't have their eyes on them. No one knew what to expect, and then clearly Western really jumping up. Hugh, for the record, by the way, is on a massive skid from their 7th ranking that they got like a week ago. They have lost multiple series back to back to schools that they should have
Yep.
been beating on paper, and now they're in some drama too. Um, which we don't need to get into that on this episode, but yeah,
Yeah.
so I think like this is going to tell us a lot about Western. It's going to tell us a lot about St. Clair. To talk briefly about that West matchup, no one really knows what to think of Weber State and West as a whole. I think if UCSD runs away with this one, it is a really bad look for West. If Weber is competitive, it's a really good look for Weber and for West.
Yeah. Do you remember Glavy Sports Prime from 2021?
I do, yes.
Teaming like Risen and stuff. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
basically
yeah.
Weber State right now. They got Zadox, they got
Interesting.
Civilian. Those are the two names that like stick out to me
That's interesting.
specifically. But they're like a full like Masters
Yeah,
GM talented
so
team, so they're very solid. And
Weber
they beat
was
UCI like 3-1 pretty
yeah,
easily, or maybe it was 3-0.
I
I
think
don't
it was
remember.
3-0.
Yeah.
Weber was the highest ranked team in West. So it's actually interesting. I think it's
Yeah.
if they're competitive against UCSD, like it's a really good look for West. Because I think if UCSD just 3-0s this, it's like yikers. Maybe West is just shit again this year.
Yep. In terms of the other matchups, like I think there is like I obviously like in the South with UST getting having to reverse sweep to win South, like that lowers their stock a decent amount.
Yeah.
But in any situation where there's like a big 3-0 for Winthrop or Ole Miss, I think there is a world where like one of them could get bumped out. I just think it's not very likely for that to happen. So the stakes are not as high.
I
And then
hmm,
and then for North, like that's gonna stay. Like I don't think it matters. Like if one of them looks really bad, then like I could see a world where USC gets put over them. I personally think
I
that those are the top 4 teams.
I
But
could see
I'm
a
just saying like there are
world.
some implications.
I could see a world, but like at least in my head, if if I were to do the bracket right now and concede it, there is nothing that could happen in the North or the NACC finals that puts UST in the top 4
Okay.
for me.
That's a fair take. That's a fair take.
But
I I
but yeah,
I'm, I probably agree, but I want to watch the games and
I
just
mean,
make
unless
the
like
most.
Ole Miss gets like 15-minute gamed by Winthrop, if they look like Mad Lions, maybe, but it's hard
Yeah,
to
yeah,
say.
yeah. All right. Well, let's go into our last headline, talking about the lower half of CLOL, where there not only are conference championship games happening, there are third place games and fifth place games also occurring. And a lot of those games have big implications in terms of the bubble, the teams that the committee will have to vote in order to give themselves a chance. Hawk, we're going to talk about some of the teams on the bubble right now, and we're each going to pick one and vouch for why they should be in the tournament. You can go first.
All right. I'm going to vouch for my least favorite conference. West, I'm going to vouch for USC, baby. Levitate down there here in SoCal, about 20 minutes up the road from me, and the rest of the squad. I think this team is actually pretty strong. If there are conversations about where the cutoff should be for West for who gets into the tournament, I think it starts and it ends with USC. They're going to be playing in the third place match against UCI. I think it's a very winnable matchup for UCI. They beat Colorado Boulder, which is a team that people are potentially holding in good regard. It was a close series, but they did still get take care of business. And I think when you look at like how many teams, there's like 11 teams that need to be seeded by like outside of the auto bids. I think USC to me actually fairly comfortably makes it into that list unless they look really bad against UCI.
I think I agree. I had them in my last bracketology as the last team in, actually, and CU was one of the first teams out. Things have obviously changed, and with the games that are going to be happening this weekend, like that is going to change a lot of people's perspectives, obviously. But I do think that this USC team is good. They took UCSD to 5 games. There are presumptive like West Conference champions at this point because we expect them to beat Weber. Although again, we don't know
We'll
for
see.
sure.
We'll see.
Could be
Yeah.
possible to go either way. Um, But I think Levitate and Damon are two of the better players,
Yeah,
period, like
Damon
in
as well. I
this
forgot to
conference.
shout out him.
And
Yeah.
so I'm excited for them. For me, I might head over east a little bit and I'll talk about two teams. I want to talk about Boston University really quickly. If they have a competitive series against Waterloo in the 5th place game, even if they lose, I think that they have a good argument to being voted in because of the fact that they have Samikin, who is very solid, played in the NACL promotion tournament, obviously, and did pretty well as we talked about earlier. And they also have just like a GM base around them. And just like how you know Western has been able to kind of just play around Lynx as this big carry for them down bottom. I think Samikin's team fighting is good enough for BU to outclass some of the other teams on that bubble, as long as they look decent against Waterloo. And Waterloo's also been up and down throughout the year after winning the warm up tournament, but I think Boston University you know could I think they're also like on the border of like a team that is potentially in.
Yeah, we'll see. I think they gotta. I think for me, they gotta beat Waterloo. If they beat Waterloo, I think they're in. But
If they beat
it's gonna
Waterloo,
be
is Waterloo
interesting.
still in for you though?
No,
Interesting. I think
I
Waterloo is
probably, I
pretty.
probably have. If you were to ask me, I'd probably have winner in, loser out for that series, regardless of which way it goes.
We'll see. I think Waterloo is pretty solidly in regardless, unless they get
Interesting.
smashed. Because
Interesting.
they were like top of the conference. They of course they got upset in their playoff match. Who did they play? They played against Western. So if Western plays well and
Western's
Waterloo
on a
like lose
fucking tear,
competitively,
dude.
like then that's like a situation where that's where the context matters in terms of a matchup here.
Yeah.
Last time I want to shout out quickly Ottawa from the Midwest Esports Conference. They were expected. They were in the winners finals and lost 2 series in a row to Grandview and PNW, which was probably expected, but I think they honestly put up some pretty decent fights. They upset Purdue in a couple of series. They beat Grandview, I think, one time. Um, and so I think that team has potential, and maybe my MEC bias is still showing a little bit, but they got some pretty solid players. They have Prod and Riverside. They have Killian and then Levi and Plux as well, like down in the bottom lane, who is also part of the promotion tournament. Um, and so I think that they're also on the bubble, and I think the biggest thing that this shows is that there's not a ton of teams that, you know, like at the outside looking in, there's not a lot of teams that I'm like super confident in right now. So
There's
those are
not.
the teams that I'm going to bat for.
I I think that's the main thing it's going to come down to is out of those 11 slots that need to be filled, like how many teams are even in the conversation, and I think that's going to like end up being who gets in and out. But yeah, I think those are all solid. I think BU Ottawa series is going to be Waterloo series is going to be very important. I think the USC UCI series is going to be very important. Ottawa, if maybe they get in, if UCSD 3-0 smashes Weber and everyone thinks West sucks. Like that might be their condition. But we'll see.
All right. We're gonna be talking about CLOL a lot more. So if you're not super familiar with any of these teams, we will definitely put out a ton more content about CLOL in the next couple of weeks because we're super excited for it. The bracket's gonna be announced. I think sometime next week. There's gonna be like a big process there, and then the games start again 2 weeks from today as you're watching this episode. So make sure you stay tuned for that, but that is going to do it for our headlines. We're going to go back to the promotion tournament a little bit for our part 2, where Hawk is sitting down with Lawrence and Rovex on Blue Otter.
And welcome everybody to the part 2 of Salty Runback, where I am joined by our newly promoted top laner in support of Blue Otters, Lawrence, Rovex. How are you guys doing on this Friday night?
Chilling. Just
Doing
chilling.
good.
Awesome.
Doing
Love to
good.
hear it. Lawrence, you're coming off of an ACL win. You want to, I guess it was a little shaky, but we got there, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was a banger. Kind of. Went to 3 games, so yeah, that's how my Friday night has been so far.
That sounds fun to
Played
me.
against some cheese packs, but we got the dub in that.
You had the last laugh, right? Despite
Yeah.
what they tried to throw at you. That's good.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love the kind of banger. That's always the best kind of series. Was it really a banger? I don't know, but it was kind of a banger. Well, glad to hear you guys are doing well, and obviously, I mean, just last week, promoting into the Challengers League. That's obviously the thing fresh on everybody's minds. How are you guys feeling about the whole run from start to finish? Rovex, I'll go to you first.
Wow, that's a big question.
That is a big question.
think-
I know. I'm like hitting you right off the bat. You know.
Yeah. Straight off the bat, I think from the very start, we didn't have the highest expectations. We knew we would do really well, just given our players. We thought we had a lot of potential, but we didn't actually put that much time into our games or into prepping for matches and stuff until probably the later ends of things. So, yeah, I don't know. There's like it's like a big surprise, but I feel like we knew we would promote from the very start.
All right. Lawrence, what about you?
Yeah, I definitely knew that we could promote, like very like maybe not easily, but I knew for sure we could promote like a high chance. I mean, just like Rovex said, we didn't really prepare until like we got closer to the tournament. I think after we lost the first series though, we really shaping up. And I mean, after the first series, it was a lot easier to like kind of know what we needed to do.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know. It was a bit weird because there was a bit of a break, so like it was kind of hard to go in and know for sure what's gonna happen. But when the tournament started, it was easy.
I love that.
Rest in peace, Yujin.
Rest in peace. Yeah.
Rest in peace, Eugene.
We could talk about that for a second because, of course, y'all were here because Morningstar White got banned. You guys have anything to say about that? Lawrence, you got the firsthand experience against that guy.
I mean, he's really good. Like he's really good. Like especially on his champions, and the fact that he's on very low ping. I don't know how much he speaks. Like I don't know his English, so I can't comment on that. But as an individual, he's very good. Like he definitely feels like he's like reacting to my every move, and like in lane, his spacing is really good. So I mean, yeah, he's just a very good player. And when he gets his champs and he gets items, he carries pretty hard. So
I love the respect. Well, and for what it's worth too, I am really glad that you guys ultimately are here despite the situations that transpired. And we can talk a little bit more about like promotion itself as well, because it's interesting that y'all mentioned that a lot of the prep came later on, getting towards the promotion tournament and everything, but you knew you would have a good shot because of how good your players are. And I think that was the general sentiment around your all's team for basically the entire split, right? Was like, these guys are just really good. And I am curious because the expectation coming into the promotion tournament was that you guys were on a bit of like a downturn, right? We had just lost to Ole Miss, and then we lose the first best of 3 to, was it Winthrop, right? So was there a moment in which like the switch flipped, or in which it all came together, and you guys knew like you had it in the bag?
Well, I think it was a few bumps that, yeah, it was definitely like we were in a slope, and then we were good. The first one came when we lost to Morningstar. I think we were just gonna disband straight up, and then we got that DQ message. So that gave us the motivation to do well for OQ1. I think we got complacent during OQ2 because during OQ1 we scrimmed. What was it? 9 games, 12 games. It was.
we didn't scrim
it
very
was one,
much, bro.
It was one scrim a week, and then maybe one scrim like every 2 weeks. And then we won OQ1. We were like, dude, it's too easy. We don't need a scrim. So
Who needs them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to give some context, I don't know if many people know, but our team was very last minute. Like maybe Samikin or Music talked about it in the interview, but it was actually like a week or 2 weeks before the OQ. Since well, me and Rovex had a team, but like things didn't go through, so we were just scrambling for like a last minute team, and we didn't want to like make people scrim that much because it was so like a last minute team. That's why it kind of worked out like that.
That's funny. I feel like there's always a really good OQ team every split, exactly like you guys, right? Where it's like, oh shit, like we don't have a team, guys. What do we do? And and it comes together. And I do want to talk about the team coming together a little bit more, because you know, it's obviously you two, and you two have played together a few times, which maybe we can talk about later, right? And then Music and Lynx, who are of course very experienced, and then Samikin, the essentially rookie mid laner. Like tell me a little bit more about how this squad came together and grew throughout the split.
So it was me and Lawrence. We had our own team, and that kaboomed, and it was just me and him left. I think who did we get first? We either got Music or Lynx next. I can't remember.
I think so. It was definitely Links first, I think, because you're already kind of talking to him, and I don't want to say too much for Links, but I think he like didn't want to like he had NACL offers. Like, he's definitely NACL caliber, but he didn't really because he's doing school right now, so I think he wanted to focus a bit on school and not put as much time into league. So that was
I
the first
remember now.
piece. Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
everything's coming back.
yeah, and then Music, and then Rovex and Music played together briefly. I think right on that
Ye-
one team with Shogo and Akashi, so he knew him, and then I think Music was the one that got Samikin for us, since he vouched for
Ooh.
him, since he played in Combines with them, I think, in the off season. So Music had a really good view of Samikin already. Like he had high hopes for him.
Shout out
Interesting.
to Music.
That is really interesting to hear. I okay, so yeah, we got Lynx, then we got Music, then we got Sam. So you guys are like the OGs, right? You guys like the team started around you kind of, and then we got there in the end, dude. Okay, that is cool. And so how
And also
oh go
shout out
yeah
to
go ahead.
Kobe as well. He did help us out too. I don't want to discredit our boy Kobe, but he did help us making the team, like helping us get on Aporia and then Blue Otter. So he had a say in that as well.
Nice. Yeah, shout out Kobe for sure. Okay. Very cool. And so, you know, as the split progressed, Lawrence, I have actually a really important question for you because playing in tier 3 throughout the split, you know, we had you do a couple content pieces. Particularly Grapes was really into the like history content pieces, right? And dude, like why do you have an encyclopedic knowledge of tier 3 and tier 2 League of Legends? Like tell me your wisdom, please.
I mean, I've been around for a while and I've been playing for a while, and I guess I just get really invested um, when I'm part of these things, and I guess I have a decent good memory, so like I tend to remember a lot of things, and I just like watch tier 1 league in general, so
Mhm.
to me it's all interesting, and like just being part of like tier 2 or tier 3, it makes it more interesting and makes me want to get to know what's happening. So I mean that's just it. I just really like league, I guess.
Yeah. Hey, respect. I consider myself a huge fan, but for whatever reason, when I got into those challenges, my brain spontaneously combusted, and I'm pretty sure when Colomer found out he was against you, he's like, "Dude, I'm fucked. Like Lawrence is like 40. Like what am I supposed to?"
We're not that old, but I'm old.
No, but that's funny. Rovex, you think you could take this guy in tier 3, tier 2 trivia?
Nah, nah, no way.
Understandable. We'll give Lawrence his crown for this one.
Thank you.
But so for you guys having played together, you know, you played on a couple other teams too. We maybe could do like a fun activity with this or whatever, because it was of course Blue Otter / Aporia this split. Then last split it was Team Coachify / Aporia, and then there was another one you guys played on too. It was you guys play on like Taco together at some point, or
Yep.
yeah,
Taco Gaming. That's where it all started. I think.
right, where it
Shout out
all
to
where it all
Taco.
started.
Yeah, shout out to Taco.
Shout out Taco. I hope Taco's doing well now. Like, do you guys have a favorite? What like let's like tier list the teams you guys have played on, right? Like I'm like let's throw the shade, right? Like what were you guys' favorite and least favorite teams to play on together?
Ooh,
I mean, for me, this is easy. I think it's easily Blue Otters or Aporia, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's Taco Gaming, and then it's Coachify.
Okay.
And I mean, Blue Otter is / Aporia. I think it's it's been the best team I've ever been on. So there's that,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like I don't know, everyone's like really friendly. Everyone's easy to talk to. So I don't know, the vibes were good. Not saying the vibes were bad on the other teams, but the vibes here were really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then Taco Gaming was nice too because it was like the first time I've ever won an amateur, something like significant. So that was nice. And then Coachify, I mean, the first OQ of that summer was really rough, and then not making the promotion tourney really hurt. So I guess that's why it's lower in the list.
Mm-hmm. That's understandable. Rovex, what about you?
Agreed.
Agreed. All right. Easy. Easy. Do you guys have like a favorite memory from playing together? Like, it doesn't have to be even like game related. Like, obviously, promotion is probably pretty high on that list, I guess. But like, I don't know, like a stupid thing that happened once or like whatever you guys have.
I think it was. I don't know how you feel about it, Lawrence, but Taco Gaming felt the most real. That was a true tier 3 experience. You're dedicating your life and like everything. Like I gotta make it pro. Like this. Like we're scrimming every single day, and there's drama going on, but you're like fighting through. Like that was the real story.
Damn, I
We
guess
worked so hard.
we different, huh? You actually think Taco? I mean,
I
looking
mean,
back,
this team is show.
yeah, I don't think it changes. I mean, it's close though. I'll say like Taco Gaming
Bro.
was nice, but the thing is, I joined Taco Gaming for the second OQ or the second qualifier, so I didn't really experience the first.
Oh,
the
that's
first half.
true, actually.
So I don't know. Maybe that's why.
Yeah. I went through a war. You wouldn't
Yeah.
understand.
Oh
I
man,
think it's a good thing.
dude, that's tough. That was Rovex. That was like your first split playing support, wasn't it? On that taco squad, or
Yeah, the first iteration was with Cozy Shroud, Trickster,
right.
Doxa, and Lynx.
Dude, that was a legendary team though.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
That was the start of my support career.
The start of the support career, man. Good memories from 2022. Well, it is great to hear though that overall like the vibes on this Blue Otter team are so good because I remember like listening to the comms, right? Like it sounded like a well-oiled machine. I mean, I always loved hearing, music's talking all the time, like guiding the team, staying positive, everything like that. Rovex, I love how you like sometimes the team would debate what the best call was and then you would speak and then felt like everyone would listen. Like just tell me more about like the team dynamic, what it was like playing with this group of 3 other than, of course, good vibes and playing well.
Well, this team, okay, when we say it's like good vibes, like it's actually good vibes.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk to anybody about any team, they're like, "Oh, dude, but this guy's being an idiot. Like this guy's giving me the disease. Like I can't focus. I won't shut up. I have to turn him to 5%. All that stuff." But our team is like, for you to be labeled as a bad guy on our team, it's like so. Like, everyone is just so nice because Lynx doesn't really talk. I'm me. Lawrence is really nice. Sammykin has not. Shout out to Sammykin. The guy has never in
He's a
his
snake.
life said a single negative thing in
Dude,
his
that kid
life.
is so nice. That kid is so
He's a
nice.
snake,
Yeah. Very polite. Very nice
This
guy.
guy will get 4-manned, and then like obviously it's everyone else's fault that he's getting 4-manned, and no one's covering for him. He's like, "Oh, my bad." Like, I guess. Yeah, and then music sometimes he can get emotional, but like the level of emotional compared to like other teammates you would probably have that are like actually like not good teammates, like it's not even close. So
Right.
it's really easy to function with our team.
You need a little fire too, right? You need someone to like, give it
Oh,
that.
I mean that's actually our coach.
Oh, really?
one-
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Shout out to Uncle
Yeah,
Phil.
Yes,
Phil.
then Uncle Phil. All right.
Like, we're all nice to each other, and then Uncle Phil flames everyone. but we all know he does it in like because he like cares about us and wants us to succeed. Like he's not afraid to like go hard on us sometimes. So I mean, it's just
Yeah.
part of the. I guess that's what makes us like really vibing as a team.
Nice. I love to hear that. I don't know. That's great. And so shout out Sammykin apparently being the nicest guy ever. Also last year, you all played with the other mid laner that got hyped up a lot in like the combines this past split. So you've played with Toasty and you've played with Samakin. Once again, I'm gonna ask for like the spice. Like, who's better? Who's better? Is it Toasty or Samakin? You know?
Whoa. Hold on. Don't disrespect my boy. Shout out to Chase Capello, Shochi.
Oh, true.
He
I
was
mean,
actually the first one that made it to tier 2.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, dude. Shochi, by the way, friend of the show. Shout out to Shochi. He's probably gonna be in the chat like, Hawk, what the fuck? Like, how can... But we all know Shochi's the GOAT, right? Like, you know, he's number one, and then
Soji's probably the funniest team I've ever had.
really,
So there's that.
Agreed.
Yeah, he's really.
I
he's
mean,
the
that guy's a
funny
memer. That doesn't surprise
He's a
me.
memer.
Yeah, but between Toasty and Samikin, that's okay. Well, I'll start off with Samikin because I just played with him. I think you give Samikin the Samikin champions. Not that I'm spoiling anything, but like he's really good at the champions he plays.
Right? Yeah.
And then Toasty like is very flexible with what he does, but yeah, I ain't saying more than that.
All
I
right.
love
Yeah.
them both,
Yeah.
but-
That's understandable. Lawrence, anything to add?
No, I mean he's pretty. Like I'd agree with that with what Rovex said.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen, to be honest, I haven't really seen Toasty play, so I don't. It's hard to judge him, I guess. Then and it's easier to judge Samikin because we just played with him.
Right.
I tune into the fear games every now and then, but I don't really have like a in depth, I guess, on Toasty. But yeah, he's pretty flexible. Like he was always down to play whatever champs we needed on Coach Levi. So
Shout out Toasty, good kid too. He's also a good kid.
Yeah, good kid.
Hell yeah. Now, you know, shout out all the teammates, of course, but looking ahead now for you guys a little bit towards summer, regardless of like whatever happens in the future, if it were this roster right now playing in say like last split's NACL, but add in CCG. So say like next split, all the rosters are the same, and then it's you guys and CCG in there instead of Mirage and Lit. Like where do you guys think you place? Right? Like how good do you guys feel this roster is now? And yeah.
Interesting. When do you think we were at our? Do you think we were better at OQ1 or OQ2? I mean, I guess OQ1, right?
It had to be an OQ1, but OQ1, OQ2, and promo tourney. Like promo tourney, we're probably at our peak performance currently.
Yeah. I think we would have. I don't think we would have relegated. I think that's for sure. I don't think
100%. We can't. There's no way we could get relegated.
And we wouldn't be bottom two. I think for sure. I don't know. I think we would have been upper half. I don't know. It's
Bro.
kind of hard to say. We
Just top 3, top 4. Like our team has no
top four,
ego.
top
We
four,
just
top
play.
four, top four.
We play the game. Like, there's no spoilers to any analysts. Like we play the game one way, but we're good at playing the way we play it. Like Fearless Draft isn't pick 25 different champions. Just pick 5 champions. You'll be good. So.
Yeah.
I think we could easily one trick our way into top 4 minimum.
Yeah. I could subscribe to that. I will say, watching your all's games, I think you guys were like unleashed in the promotion tournament. I don't know what the fuck you guys like ate for breakfast those mornings or what, but you guys were like on another level. It was awesome. So I think if you're playing like that, I could see a top 5, top 3, top 4 appearance for sure. And you know, as far as looking ahead as well, you know, going into the NACL season, are you guys, you know, like you said, y'all have both been around a while. Rovex, you were talking about like Taco Gaming. That was the true tier 3 experience, grinding it out every day, trying to go pro. Do you guys still see pro play as the end goal for you all, or has the goalpost moved as time has gone on?
It's moved a lot, unfortunately. Because as a little boy, I always dreamed of playing LCS. But I don't know if you see papers back there, but I'm a working man now. So I basically work full time. But ironically, like it helps you play better.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I do play, it feels way more meaningful because I can't play as much. And like I kind of have a foot outside of league, so all that's been kind of depressing. But I don't know. I'm just gonna see where things go, how far we can get in tier 2, and yeah, it's hard to see that far into the future with how everything has been going so far.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean it's a mood for me for sure as well. Uh, yeah, it's definitely moved. I mean, like as you get older, right, you start to value other things, and can't always play League, but I don't know. Whenever you do play, it's like the playing the promotion or like playing OQ1. That's when it's like really like when you truly enjoy competitive play.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean it's mood for sure. I'm kind of the same too. Like I'm kind of 1 foot out as well, like Rovex, but when I'm in, I put in my full effort, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like there's always something to be said for the competition and like the spirit of the scene, right? I mean, honestly, similar to you guys, like I've been looking for my 1 foot out as well, so I like identify with that. But also, we're all still here, right? And we're all still enjoying it. That actually leads into an interesting conversation, probably like to sort of circle back and start wrapping things up. Obviously the scene has changed a lot in the time that you all have been here, in the time since I started back in 2022, right when tier 3 was a really big deal from like a broadcast perspective, a coverage perspective. Academy had the full-time broadcast to now, and the change of the teams, all that kind of stuff. Do you guys have any thoughts about how the scene has changed since you first started in until now?
Oh wow, yeah,
Wow.
I've seen it. I've seen it all with when like crypto was booming and every org was like, oh, $1 million contracts, $1 million contracts. Like it was everyone's dream to play LCS, but like we've seen what happened to Academy and like all the Academy teams leaving. I hate saying it because it was the worst thing when I would just play for like 15-hour days and I would hear like, oh, yo, league's dying, you gotta move on to the next game, or you gotta move on to the next thing. I'm not sure what Riot has planned to revive the scene to, or at least have as much money as they used to. But yeah, sensitive topic when you put your heart and soul into something and it's dying.
Yeah, I mean it's for sure not as booming as it was a few years ago, and it's kind of sad to see. You can't really. It's not realistic to like be 100% to the league, or at least in NA, right? Like you gotta like have usually someone everyone has like has a side thing, whether it's like school or work. So I mean in that sense that's kind of sad. You don't really get to see like how much you could truly be if you put in everything. So yeah.
Yeah.
Shout
It's
out to the tier 3 players.
Yeah.
shout out. Which yeah, it's a tough scene right now for sure, and I do I always like getting the player side insight of it because I think it has been hard, but it's a valuable conversation to have. And hey, I mean, at least the reason why I still love the scene and I'm still so invested in it, I'm sure it's similar to you guys, is like basically exactly what we're doing now. Like there's still a lot of great stuff happening here despite that, which I think at least makes it worth doing. But yeah, it's oh, Grapes and I have had many conversations about that on the show. But to go back to the positive side, hey, Rovex, you said shout out to the tier 3 players, but that no longer includes you guys. You guys are tier 2 players now. We're in the big leagues again.
I
And
will say Fearless is good stuff. I think it's really really good for the scene. If they can somehow add, it's not gonna be easy obviously to just implement it to like tier 1, but I think it's really good for tier 2, tier 3.
yeah,
Makes watching the games more enjoyable as well. Like
I'm actually glad you brought up that conversation because I agree. I know Whipley tweeted about it a few days ago and asked about it. I also thought Fearless from like a broadcast perspective was a good thing. Rovex, I'm actually curious. Do you have anything to like add on to the Fearless discussion at all?
Yeah, dude, Fearless is like awesome. Bro, in pro play, it's like, oh, Zeri Jinx trade. Oh, we're red side. Oh, for 1P Zeri. Like, it's the
yeah,
same champions over and over again.
yeah. So I was watching Fisher versus Winthrop earlier today,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and like after game 1, like game 2, 3, and 4, it was just the same. First pick Jinx, enemy team for answers with I think it was Zeri, and it just kept happening. The same, like it was like 8 out of 10 chance were the same. So like it definitely makes it more enjoyable, and like you don't see the same champs as much. That's nice.
Yeah. If Riot were to keep going with the Fearless, which I also hope they do, would you say that like this is the best iteration of Fearless, or would you want to see, like, for example, if a champion's picked, no one can pick it for the series, or any other changes like that made to it?
Yeah,
Honest,
true fearless would be like crazy
yeah.
good.
I think it'd be crazy. I don't know if it's a good idea to implement that right away. Maybe they start with like the fearless now. You see that? I don't know. Maybe it's just better to just go straight away like that. But it would definitely cause a lot of things to change if like you go straight into fearless. Like I
Yeah.
think there'd be a lot of upsets for sure.
I
That would be like so interesting to watch though. Like if you
Yeah,
just think of from the viewer perspective, like it could
yeah, I
only
guess.
benefit
Yeah,
both parties. Like the only person it doesn't benefit are like the extremely methodical players or people with like small champ pools. But like, who cares? It's what the viewers want to see.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, that's a fair point.
Come on, man. I've always wanted to watch Lawrence first time the Yumi top in the Fearless draft, dude. Like, haven't you? Like,
I mean, I first time Darius in our in my ACL match. It didn't go that well. So
yeah, dude. I hope the people know. I know we talked about the ACL match earlier. Like, we're scheduling this interview, and Lawrence is like, "Hey, I'm gonna be a little bit late. You know, Fearless match going to 3. Like, didn't expect that, or ACL match going to 3. Didn't expect that." And Rovex like outs this man in our group chat. Like, sends the post match screenshot, and we're like, "Damn."
yeah, Un- uncalled for.
Uncalled for, dude. Rovex off the
Sure,
top
Out
of
of
the
bro.
room.
pocket.
Bro thinks
Uh,
he's Quacker. Shout out to my boy Quacker.
We had, funnily enough, Quacker was on the last player that we had on this show before you guys. So yeah, shout out to Quacker, the Darius goat, him and Dragoon, and I know they've got their Darius rivalry going. But yeah, to wrap up the Fearless discussion, I see it as like, you guys didn't play any like TCGs like Legends of Runeterra or like Yu-Gi-Oh or anything like that.
I
Too
played
poor.
Hearthstone.
Hearthstone, okay,
I
yeah,
played
like
Hearthstone, and I played Legends of Terra for a little bit.
nice.
And yeah, I
Okay.
actually like card games a lot. So
Yeah, I do too. I played Legends of Runeterra. I played Hearthstone for a bit as well. I think card games are cool. And in card games, right, like when too many cards start coming out and like there's too many things to play, they start just like rotating cards. I kind of see that as like Fearless's evolution for the MOBA genres. Like at this point, there's so many champions. You just start rotating the champions out through Fearless, and enable teams to pick different things. But regardless of that, guys, that's all the questions I have for you. Thanks so much for joining us. Before I let you go, any shout outs, anything else you want to add about the season or just yourselves or anything?
no, not really. I mean, shout out to my team, I guess. Like the boys, to Uncle Phil, and Uncle Phil.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to to Andrew Franklin. He was our manager, and Volkson and Billy. They all helped the team make sure we were running good. And then shout out to Taco as well, my boy.
Shout out Taco, the Blue Otter staff, and all the team. Rovex, anything from you?
Yeah, our teammates. Gotta thank them individually. Music, you were great for the split. Probably best jungler or highest synergy I've had. Samikin, you're the kindest soul. Thanks. I mean, Brian got something on to say to you, bro. Then Uncle Phil, this guy actually saved our team. Like I can't say enough. This guy is actually the GOAT coach.
Yeah.
Like without him, we would have lost OQ. We've been done for. But
yeah, we
guy's an amazing coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was the best team I ever played on. So.
Yeah, for team wise, just love our whole team, and then managers, and then owner, Blue Otter, Euphoria. Thanks for the whole journey, and then yeah, my girlfriend.
Oh, shout out the girlfriend as well, man. I thought league players weren't supposed to have those. Now, shout out, shout out.
Yeah, it comes with the job. Actually, you get a job, and like you just like you go outside.
Dude,
part of the contract.
That does help a lot. Going outside, touching grass, good for meeting people for sure. But no, thanks guys so much. I mean, it was so much fun to follow you guys throughout the split. An amazing promotion tournament run. And I mean, regardless of what summer split does end up looking like, I know it's a little bit just like up in the air right now, of course, for everybody. I'm excited to see you guys the next time you play in summer split and beyond. So thanks for joining us on the show, and we're gonna send it out.
Thank you very much to Lawrence and Rovex for speaking with us. Hawk, thank you for taking the load. I know we haven't recorded the interview just yet, but I got to head out in a couple of minutes, which is why
No
we're
worries.
doing it in this way. But I got to talk to Bradley on CCG. You get to talk to Lawrence and Rovex. So we each get an interview with somebody who's now playing in the NACL.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's always good to talk to the Blue Outer players. I mean, so many great personalities, and I'm sure, from the past looking into the future, I'm sure Lawrence Rovex had good things to say and are gonna make us excited for the summer split.
Yeah, that part where they said, when Rovex, said all this horrible stuff about his teammates, like that was crazy. Like,
Dude,
he
dude,
started
we got some
shitting on
drama.
everyone.
We got some drama. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Someone's
the
gonna
episode
skip
that
to
we
the
haven't
very
watched yet.
end, having not watched the interview, and they're gonna be like, "Oh shit! Like that's crazy."
Clickbait right there. But yeah,
That's the
thank you,
thumbnail. Is just like Rovex said what about his teammates?
Now you got to get him to say something when we do the when you do the interview about somebody. Have talk. He's like the nicest guy ever though, so I don't know if it's possible. But
Rovex is like a massive chiller, so I don't know.
yeah. But yeah, that's gonna do it for our episode. Thank you everybody for tuning in and watching. Another episode of Solitary Runback in the books. We're gonna hit 50 very soon. I think like by the time CLOL like finishes up, like that'll be episode number
Yeah.
50. So that's kind of crazy.
We're
Thank you
getting
everybody
old.
for tuning in. Yeah, I know. We're getting there.
Sorry, I
If
didn't mean
every
to-
episode
yeah.
if every episode number was like a year, then like I don't know if there's anyone in esports that is as old as us right now. Yeah, 47. So
I don't know, like yeah, I guess so. I was
Don't
gonna
call
make a
someone
joke.
out
I was
right
gonna
now.
make a
Don't call
joke about
someone
like
out.
Beatdown Boulevard being old, but he's not 47, guys. Don't worry.
Don't do it like that.
No, I
man.
know.
Yeah,
not
we'll have more
47.
content out. I think we'll do another episode next week, so make sure you tune into that. Watch all the combines that are happening too. We'll probably do a little promo for them next week as well. But the Supernova one is happening. Running the Rift again will be happening soon. A lot of great players, a lot of great people involved with that. So make sure you go watch that. And stay tuned for any updates we have about like CLOL stuff. We might try to do like things like reveal shows, analyst stuff. We haven't finalized anything yet, but we're hoping to be involved.
Yeah. And if you didn't believe when Rovex said that all of his teammates are toxic and he hates them, you could take what we said with a grain of salt. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media at Salty Runback Pod, at Hawkcast, at Speedy Grapes, and we'll see you all next time.